When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be hard. Like early 90s heavy metal hard.
I'm yelling and screaming and I'm loud. Roar!
Geico makes it easy. You can review and update your policy or report a claim on Geico.com or the Geico mobile app. Because shouldn't we all have a little less stress in our lives?
I'm not even upset about anything.
Blog Talk Radio.
Thank you for tuning in to The Awakening with Katina Love. Today is Monday, November 9th, 2015. I am your host and spiritual life coach for healing artists. Connect with me on Facebook at facebook.com/Katina.love8. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show, to share your journey to higher consciousness and promote your life purpose and business in the healing arts, or to share your wellness products and services, I would love to speak with you. I can be reached at 248-820-1563. And my email is lotuslife, 8, so LOTUSLIFE, 8, at yahoo.com. Are you looking for a healthy snack? Charma's green chips can be found at Whole Foods Market in Detroit, Michigan, and at Dale's Natural Foods in Flint, Michigan. Today's topic is the importance of self-love, self-care, and consciousness. And our special guest is Akhenaten S'L'M-Bey. As a young teenager, Mr. Bey heard the message of love and answered the call to minister hope and healing to the people. For nearly 42 years, his message has been broadcasted globally through the airwaves and in lectures, a.k.a. the witch doctor, and we mean that in a good way, a good witch doctor. He currently serves his community for 32 years at WRFG 89.3 FM Atlanta. His ministerial capabilities include Truth and Transformation Ministries, Premierable More Trust, and Moorish Science Temple of America. Mr. Bey's desire is to help all of humanity become more aware of the shift in consciousness which is taking place on our planet today and wellness. Thank you, Akhenaten, for being a guest today. How are you?
I am excellent, Katina. Thank you so much for inviting me on your program, The Awakening. I love that title, and you know I love your name because it carries that energy and vibration of love. You know.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
In fact, I was looking at, because as you mentioned about the witch doctor, a lot of people are afraid of that term because there's been misnomer or misapplied and associated. But we know the witch doctors were the ones that understood the forest, they understood the herbs, and they utilized the natural aspects of nature. Like I know you so well enjoy the applications of essential oils. And, the reason why I mention that, because, the witch doctors always understood vibrations and energies, and every name has a vibration. Every name carries with it like a fingerprint. It's a signature that has a name attached to it. I usually on my program, Night Watch Expressions on WRFG Atlanta, 89.3 FM, our 100,000-watt radio station that is pumping out or catered towards the metro Atlanta area, and we share with our audience on my program, Night Watch Expressions, about what a witch doctor really is, to dispel all the lies and stuff about a witch doctor.
Absolutely.
And they used to kill witches because they understood nature.
Right.
And
they're attuned.
That, and that was a challenge to some of the systems at that time. So I used the term witch doctor to let people understand that they understood cosmology. They understood the cosmic sciences. And related to your name, the reason why I brought that up is, your name always has a certain energy. And if you kind of look it up, you can kind of get a gist of what it is. It's a deep science on, I guess we call it nameology. And there's a vibration that's connected with it because as with words, we spell. That's how we connect with words. We spell. So we're always, I say, as a pun, we're always spelling. And so with your name, Katina, representing a cat, and Tina representing the river, you are representative of that cat energy, bringing the river representing purification. And all that is the energy of love. Cats have a significant aspects to being sensitive to surroundings. So you are doing that through your program, The Awakening.
Yes, and it's so amazing, too. And then to add to that, too, the other part of the meaning of that, Katina, is purity.
Yes. That's what water does, doesn't it? Rivers are flowing, and that's what purity is about. And I have a unique aspect from the Mayan cosmology where the occult aspect of myself, which is my galactic signature, is the red moon that represents purification, it represents universal waters. And, in fact, guess who that represents?
What?
My life love partner, Versandra, who you know very well.
Oh, yes. Your soulmate. How wonderful.
Yeah, that's a connection right there, just to show you how the sciences all work together when you really appreciate love, what the energy brings. And I say appreciate love instead of appreciate, because that energy of hate I'm trying to dismiss. We need love. That's what it's all about. Self-love.
It is all about love. It is. It is.
Yes.
I mean, words have a frequency. I mean, there is no question about it. And when you're in alignment with everything, beyond the name, with your soulmate, your life purpose, everything just works out the way it's supposed to. And there's no mistake that the universe hooked you up with Versandra and hooked her up with you. You're both on the same path and thriving in your ministry in the healing arts, and just when you're doing what you're supposed to do, the universe will align you with the right mate, and you guys are a shining example of that, and you so inspire me to look forward to that connection when I meet my soulmate.
Well, the first aspect of that is connecting with yourself. I believe that wholeheartedly. There's people all around us. And I remember, through my training, and one thing that stands out with me that has an imprint in my brain based on a saying that I learned from one of my spiritual guides who is an ancestor now. And many people don't know him as a true spiritual metaphysician. And I'm a metaphysician at heart. And what he says is, you only meet yourself. And I said, wow, to really powerful. Think about that, And that has resonated.
So powerful.
Yes, it is. And it has resonated with me for over, I'm dating myself as I hear you read my bio. I said, wow.
Amazing.
And, this has been when I was a teenager, started getting exposed to spiritual ideals, spiritual cosmology, spiritual concepts in cosmology. And when I started making those connections with my higher self, it was a great awakening, pun intended, for me. And I've had a lot of people who that I met, and as the old saying says, that, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So I had a lot of teachers in my life.
I know, and I think we get different teachers at different seasons in our lives, different times.
Yes.
They change, don't they? Sometimes we keep the same life teachers for a lifetime, and then sometimes they change by the season, right? Depends on what season you're in.
That's exactly right. You know, when you look at the word love, here's this thing. I have this thing with love. With words, because with words we spell. You know, in the beginning was I used the spiritual law that's immutable, and that spiritual law that is found in the Bible, fortunately or coincidentally, and there's no coincidence, it's just coincidence means cooperative incidences that happen. And there's the Gospel of John, which is my namesake that my mother and my father named me after my grandfather and my great-grandfather, because that energy of love is grace, and the grace of God is love. And John wrote the esoteric phrase that most people take literally, but it's a deep esoteric phrase, and it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh. And a lot of times in my program, I open up with that to get people to think a little bit, that this is saying, in the beginning was the Word, because within us begins the thought. You can't have a word without thought. The thought gets translated into this word, and this word becomes flesh, and it begins with us. It begins, this thought, this word, this idea, this concept that we have comes from us. So I say in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with you, and the Word was you, because you were created in the likeness and the image of God, and it becomes flesh. And what that means, that flesh is a reflection of you, so it becomes a mirror to you to show you where you are in your consciousness. So I always use spelling. With words, we do spell.
Yes.
So when
Thank
we look
you for
at it,
sharing that.
Yes, and continue with that, speaking in reference to your, talking about in seasons, because everybody has those seasons. And when we always are meeting people, because remember, you only meet yourself. And when you turn the word around using the transposition of letters, love, spell it backwards, is E-V-O-L, which is the root of evolve. So real love is about evolving. You becoming more, pun intended, for all the Moors that know what I'm referring to, you become more. Right. So that's why we meet different people in our lives to take us on our journey. That's why people meeting you, Katina, and connecting with your Blog Talk Radio, they meet you as a opportunity for their awakening experience. And that's what our mission, that's what our duty is, as you are ministering to people through what you do on your program.
Oh, my God, thank you. You just ministered to me. Thank you so much.
Okay, remember, we're just ministering to ourselves, to each other.
Yes. And you are such a blessing. You are such a blessing to me. You and Versandra is such a blessing to me. I'm just so grateful to have connected with both of you. I'm just so grateful.
Indeed, or it's likewise. You know, we have been. You have been a blessing to us. She has shared things about you, and I said, oh, okay, I see why y'all connected.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what led you on your path to holistic wellness, self-love, and higher consciousness?
Wow. Now, you know, that's a powerful question. Yeah, very loaded, because I have volumes, and I'm waiting to write my book on that. You know, even though I got a few books in the chamber waiting to, you know, it's all loaded and ready to be emitted out. Let me say it like that. But it is volumes that I can share about what really connected with me. And like I said, I had many teachers that I really hate to really start calling names on, but there have been many people that influenced my life. But, you know, most people Katina, have stories about their journey and path to holistic wellness in about maybe some particular challenge that they had health-wise, and it gave them that. My story is a little bit different. I've seen people challenged not only in their health situations, but they were dealing with things on an emotional, mental, and spiritual level. And as a teenager, I don't know why. I guess it's that, again, the signature that we come here with, the time that we came on this planet, and that I'm still, getting familiar with and getting to know who I really am. As the old saying said, know thyself, right?
Right,
but
absolutely.
I was always, people gravitated to me, and I just had to realize that it's something about an energy that I have that people gravitated to me where they felt like they can confide in me, and they would begin to things. And I mean, I was young, and like a teenager, I started realizing that people began to talk to me and started, sharing some issues that they were going through, and I would be sensitive to them, and I guess that's why I became a good listener to hear what they were saying, and then do what I can to help them on their journey. And I guess that's what impacted me. Then I started looking at myself in terms of my diet, but the first and foremost thing was my thoughts, was my spiritual awareness. And so just like the quality of foods that I began to examine that would be best for my own consumption and to share with others the best nutritional program for their consumption, so it was about my mind, and that came first and foremost. So I began to look for some of the best spiritual nutrition, let's put it that way. And I, started having these particular individuals and gravitating. I mean, it was like I've had experiences like George Washington Carver had the plants talking to him. There would be books that I would gravitate to. And one of the reasons why I know a lot of people get confused and share this aspect about when they go to my Facebook, they see John Settles. Now, unfortunately, Facebook, for some reason, couldn't connect with my my name that I legally changed for some years ago, and I did it in a lawful manner without going to a judge and asking permission for me to change my name. But I did it based on me understanding certain aspects of law, right? And it says John Settles, but in parentheses I had to put Akhenaten S'L'M-Bey because most people know me by that name by now. But most of my family, my blood family, knows me by John Settles, of course, because I've been wearing that name for quite some time. But in that awakening, I kept gravitating to Akhenaten. And a lot of people say, well, who is Akhenaten? Akhenaten is one. First of all, the name means spirit of God or energy or fire of God. And it kept gravitating to me. Every time, I don't know why, I would gravitate to a book that was talking about Akhenaten, who was one of the first who would express the oneness of God. In fact, most people don't realize when you go to the Proverbs and Psalms in your Bible, a lot of it was already written on the pyramids, the ancient pyramids and temples, and it was associated first by Akhenaten, whose wife was Nefertiti. And the significant thing about Akhenaten, a lot of people don't know that. Nefertiti was the goddess, was the pharaohess. And if you look at Akhenaten's life, he always promoted family. If you look at some of the other pharaohs, they would have themselves in large depictions on the wall, and everybody else was small, to emphasize the pharaoh. But Akhenaten was different. he had himself and his wife, in particular Nefertiti, on equal terms, as equal images, so that you can see that. And he will always have his family with him. So these kinds of things kind of gravitated to me because Akhenaten was, dealing with nature. There's a city that he built called Amarna, and this is one of my business names that I use as Amarna Wellness, because Amarna means divine love. It means Amarna was a central force, a city that was being built by Akhenaten and Nefertiti to represent naturalism, connecting back with nature. So this is how I gravitated to. This is one of the things that inspired me of going towards this aspect of higher level of consciousness. Because, when you deal with ancient Egypt, it takes you into the aspects of the mind, different levels of consciousness, and all things begin through consciousness. Whatever you want to do in terms of changing, your eating habits, bettering your physical body, bettering your mental bodies, bettering your family, bettering your work environment or your careers. It all begins in consciousness. So that's one of the self-care tips that I've zeroed in on first, and specifically they are outlined in the book that Vassandra invited me to co-write with her called I Love Me, because that's where it starts. And the name of the book is I Love Me, a self-care guide for healing artists, because self-love or self-care is self-love, is what we're saying. So if you don't, the degree in the measure of how much you love yourself is how much you care for yourself. And that means all aspects of yourself. So the first place we start is with is spiritually.
Yes.
With yourself. You have to begin to love yourself. So we have affirmations in the book that helps to that end. And one of the things that I do as I wake up in the morning, and it's something that we do at a spiritual community that you had mentioned that I'm involved with intricately, and that's Truth and Transformation Ministries. And we do this thing where you embrace yourself. So embrace yourself right now, Katina.
Yes.
Put your arms and enfold yourself, and everybody that's listening right now, just enfold your arms around yourself like you just loving you. You know how we rock when we have a little baby in our hand and we feel so cuddly? Do that with your child's self. Recognize yourself as loving yourself. Yes. And then repeat, I love and respect myself as a manifestation of God. Yes. Now, I know that's a leap for some people. Sometimes it makes them feel comfortable, but that's one of the therapies that we go through to help people get connected with their God self. See, because most people begin to identify only with God outside themselves. He's somewhere up in the sky, and unreachable, untouchable. You can't connect with him. But that's furthest from the truth. The Master Jesus came and said that the Father and I are one. Well, we must proclaim that as well.
Absolutely.
That awesome power that's unnameable, really, undescribable, really, is with us, because there's not a spot where God is not. You can't even identify the presence of God is lacking anywhere. So the first place to connect with that is with yourself.
Absolutely.
So we must say we love ourselves as a manifestation of God. And that's, as I said, Katina, is a big leap for people to really realize that they are a manifestation of God. And it starts there. And it reminds me of a song that Ricky Byers Beckwith does, and we play this often over at TTM. And it says, I love myself so much that I can love you so much,
so
that you can love you so much.
Yes.
And
wow,
then
that's
you,
powerful.
so that you can start loving me. See, love is cyclical like that. It starts from you, though, first.
Yes.
And then returns to you. So that's where we start first when we're talking about self-love, is on the spiritual, mental level. And when you prepare yourself consciously for that, then you start being more critiquing about the kinds of foods that you eat. Now, Katina, that I'm a proponent of live, raw foods. I think we need to incorporate more of that. I've had the opportunity to be to really be blessed, the opportunity to open up a restaurant. I was like one of the pioneers, along with some other team of individuals that were with me, building this restaurant called The Lights of the Garden. I always wanted a restaurant called The Lights of the Garden, and I got it from the album by The Last Poets. I know some of the old heads, OGs out there know what I'm talking about. The album is called The Lights of the Garden, and you go check that tune out. But I thought about that. I said, this is what it means when I go into the live, raw food energy, the lights of the garden. I wanted people to know that it is a delight to be in the garden. I heard you say on an interview that we did with you last week, I think that was. Time goes so fast.
It
does. You mentioned about going into the Garden of Eden. And when I look at that, again, the word sound, the Garden of Eating is the Garden of Eden, a place that you can connect with, right? So we did 7 restaurants. 2 actually developed we started with a small cafe in Atlanta, then went to a larger restaurant in Midtown Atlanta. Then I went to Georgetown in Washington, D.C., and then another one across town, across from Howard University. Then we had some people interested, and we did sort of like a franchise arrangement in Cleveland, and we had a person out in Berkeley who was, struggling and trying to compete with Whole Foods, and invited us there, and then went to New York in the Chelsea area and opened there as well. And so we were pioneers. This was back in the 90s. And now, of course, it's become more like a fad, but you have more interest now in people interested in live, raw foods. And I always say this, if I don't impose on people what they should eat, but I do highly recommend that at least 75 to 80% of what's on your plate be greens and be live.
Yes, I agree.
When I mean live, I mean you have some sprouts on there. See, because your body needs enzymes. You can take all the other vitamins and things like that, but once you cook your food, you kill the enzymes. So as long as you're getting some enzymes and getting that green chlorophyll, which relates to your melanin, then this is what is healthy for you.
Yes.
So that's part of my journey and experience.
It's so important.
And that's how I use my program to as a way of having a platform to share this experience. I can talk a whole lot. I'm into not only the foods, but we got to be 306 degrees of knowledge, master minds first of all. Mastermind scientists. Okay, and then we got to into our extended self, which is other people. So I'm a builder. I consider myself a builder, a builder of mindset. So I'm and these, as building a mindset, are about the spiritual, the psychological, the social, the physical, and also the fiscal. So you gotta have some money for generational, personal and generational wealth in wellness, because that completes an aspect of wellness, to be able to continue to support ourselves. So there's a lot. I can, of course, talk about the Mayan cosmology that I think is important, essential order that I know is important.
Right, absolutely.
And, so it is very, very extensive stuff that I do in terms of the law. I like to talk about Moorish law, Moorish history, about our real foundation here in America was not as slaves, but our presence had been here for thousands of years, and we have that kind of thing documented. You can go to my website at AkhenatensBey.com. People can visit there and get an idea of what I talk about I have a corner called Moorish Chronicles. Also have one that's talking about health and make emphasis on nutritional supplementation, because our soil is depleted from minerals, and we need 90 essential nutrients based on some very deep research, and you'll find that also there to support us, because we can have all the organic vegetables that we want that are not sprayed and all that, but if it's nutritionally deficient, then you're not getting the things that you need for optimum wellness and health.
Awesome. Can you spell out your website?
Yes, it's my name, AkhenatenBey, AkhenatenBey.com.
Awesome. And can they reach you on Facebook also?
They sure can. They can punch in our Night Watch Expressions page, which is Facebook.com/Your Witch Doctor, or Twitter.com/Your Witch Doctor. And also you can punch in John Settles, JOHN SETTLES, and sometime it'll come up with Akhenaten. But that's a way to reach out to us and connect with us, and you'll find out about our radio program that's rated S, and S for sapiosexual. So if you're a sapiosexual, we invite you to join us on the Night Watch Expressions, where you'll have an opportunity to hear from Katrina Love, who is one of our featured guests. We look forward to sharing with you again as well.
Absolutely, and then we're going to have you come back on in December, talk about the Mayan calendar. It's going to be very interesting.
Indeed, I thank you for the invitation. You're doing such a great work, and I'm glad you feel I'm humble because you feel that I could contribute.
Yes, absolutely. I totally look up to you guys. So you guys are like my teachers. We have so much in common. Can you share how your book can be ordered, you and Bassandra's book?
Oh, yeah. You can go to AkhenatensBey.com, and there's a link to the book, or you can go to Amazon and get the book. But my link, direct link there is on my website. You can click on the book, I Love Me, the self-healing guide for healing artists. And remember, everyone's a healing artist. Yes. Everyone is. Even though we focused on that, but we're those health enthusiasts, but all of us are healing artists in our own way. And it's a whole lot we can talk about that, but you can get that book, I Love Me. Self-care is self-love.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Are there any other thoughts that you wanted to share? You shared a whole lot of valuable information, and I thank you so much for it. Is there anything else that you wanted to share?
Well,
like what can people do with the self-love piece? Like you shared a lot of tips already, but like what can they do like right now? I know you mentioned giving the hug and the affirmation, and that's awesome. What about like prayer and meditation?
Well, you know what? See how synchronistic that is? You actually took the thoughts out of my mind. I tell you, we are one. Katina, I was just going to get ready to express to you what I do every morning. I get up and prepare my mind through prayer.
Yes.
I go through and do my ritual of purification, physically with water and then spiritually with water. And that's the first thing I do before, right at dawn, is my prayer time. Worship time is a sacred time for me, and it includes that purification. And within that, beyond the connection with my higher self, which is that real communion or oneness or coming in union with the creative force. And that's the first thing I do. Then drinking plenty of water. First thing, plenty of water, and then to get the pH activated in the stomach, I take a couple tablespoons of apple cider, the raw apple cider vinegar, and then some more water and some more probiotics, and that's to get things just right. And then I go for my energy drink. And I have a unique formula that includes all kinds of superfoods like goji berries, and some green spirulina, filled, those kinds of things, and a little smoothie drink. And that gets me going.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, and I look forward to having you back on. And I'm also thinking, too, that we can have a show about healing artists as well.
Yes.
You just have a wealth of knowledge there. And like I said before, I'm very grateful for you sharing your knowledge with us. So thank you for being a guest on the show today, Akhenaten. And to the audience, thank you so much for tuning in to The Awakening with Katina Love. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Katina.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be confusing. Like Swedish techno confusing.
Bark, bark, meow, meow. Dance with me, purple cow. Bark, bark, meow, meow. Ooh, you lovely cow.
Geico makes it easy. With 24/7 access, all you have to do is go to Geico.com and you could save money on car insurance. It just makes sense. Unlike,
Dance with me, purple cow. I like your move.